Croatia has a rich and complex history, and it survived some torrid times in its recent past. Right now, in the midst of economic gloom, it's banking on imminent membership of the European Union to ease some of its problems. But there is one other ray of hope: tourism. It's always been a driving force, and today it makes up nearly 20% of the economy. But tourism is largely restricted to the coast and during the summer months, so the government has a plan to draw tourists into the country's lesser-known interior and keep them coming all year round. So I'm going to test that claim. Can you come in from the coastline in cold and possibly wintry conditions and really enjoy city and country life here? Is there really enough to see and do? On my journey, I'll be exploring Zagreb's potential to become a vibrant European city through the eyes and lens of movers and shakers here. From a street photographer to the owner of one of the city's most successful and quirky museums. And to some less talkative locals too. And then venturing out into the interior of the country to the formerly war-torn areas of Gospic and Plitvice in sub-zero spring to see what they offer the global traveller.
Peace.
You could say Croatian tourism has come full circle. Ever since the Middle Ages, when Croatia was first an independent kingdom, its appeal has been recognised by aristocrats and package holidaymakers alike. Under communism, from the middle of the last century, it was Croatia's coastline that became the focus of all attention. The Adriatic Riviera became a favourite hangout for the international jet set. We're talking glamorous models, politicians and Hollywood actors. But today, nearly 2 decades after the end of communism, a brutal war and independence regained, Croatians want us to appreciate their inner beauty, not just their sexy coastline, and all the year round too. But has this country got what it takes? So let's start with the capital, Zagreb, one of Europe's oldest cities but youngest metropolises. So my first job is to work out whether Zagreb has the cultural weight to justify people coming out of season to visit in the same way they would, say, Paris or Berlin. And I think the best way to do that is by bicycle. Today, Zagreb boasts lush green spaces, neo-Baroque architecture and a lively cultural scene. You've got to say, there is nothing more becoming than Zagreb bathed in sunlight, even on a cold day like this. Fantastic. But does that make it any more than a minor league city destination? Let's ask an expert. A leader message takes 2 tours a day, starting here from the front of the Mimara Museum in the centre of town.
So it was built as a high school, as a university, and this front wing is now turned into a museum. People are coming more and more to Zagreb. Zagreb is a newly discovered destination, which is great. People come here with very low expectations or with no expectations at all, so basically they are all positively surprised in whatever time of year they come. we are not doing much to promote these things. Still, we are most about promoting Dubrovnik, Split and these coastal destinations. We are still, unfortunately, neglecting not only Zagreb, but cities in the eastern part of Croatia, which are also very nice and lovely to see. So I think that some combination of these eastern Croatian cities could also be very much used, but not yet.
Things are looking up here in Zagreb. The most recent figures show a year-on-year increase in tourist numbers of 21%. This young couple put Zagreb on their bucket list. But you've come out of season in a way, haven't you? Which is unusual. Not that many tourists come at this time of the year. Yep. Were you conscious of that? Were you thinking, oh, I wish I could come in summer, but I'll come now anyway?
Yeah, you do understand that, we could have gone in July, August, but then you're fighting, thousands and thousands of people who are taking photos and getting in the way of the experience.
Okay, so it's time to move on. I want to know what, if anything, makes this city unique. Not just its buildings and monuments and history, but its people too. Hi, you're Antonia, right?
Yes, I am.
You are the Zagreb's street guru, apparently. You know what's cool and what's happening around here.
Yes.
Zagreb has a growing fashion scene, and Antonia regularly scours the city's hippest corners for people with unique style. Tell me, when you're in places like this, what do you see in terms of what is uniquely Zagreb in the way that people are and the way they dress?
People around here are very classy. They like good quality clothes, good bags, good shoes, good hats. Ladies around here really care about their appearance.
Petar Preradovic Square is the place to see and be seen. And Antonia has already spotted someone with the Zagreb look.
She's the face on the radio.
She's very distinctive because she has short hair. I don't know if you can see it, but she has a necklace. It's handmade, and also handmade jewelry here in Croatia is really a big thing.
So you picked all that up within about 5 seconds, you saw all that?
I'm a professional.
If you saw me coming down the street and you saw this, what do you think?
I would say okay.
Do you think I need restyling?
I think your suit is maybe too hard for those pants.
Too hard for the trousers?
Yeah, the pattern, the texture is maybe too hard.
Let's go shopping.
Okay.
Zagreb's old town is on a hill above the modern city, and the streets leading up to it are enough to daunt even the Bradley Wigginses of this world. Zagreb likes to see itself as a city of science, education and culture, and it's got some pedigree. The city has 50 museums and galleries, as well as private art collections. But it's a recent quirky addition to the roster that has become one of its most famous attractions. The Museum of Broken Relationships relies on a simple idea. People contribute mementos from their own dissolved love affairs. Often bitter and vengeful, the exhibits are still darkly amusing.
People really relate to our content because it's alive. It tells something about living people, and at the same time, it's so original, it's so unusual. I don't know, in the past 6 years, I think we've been to 30 European and world cities, including London, and this project has demonstrated that it works everywhere and it raises attention everywhere.
But Alinka feels the success of her museum is an isolated phenomenon achieved through personal endeavour and in spite of, rather than because of, government support.
Here in Croatia, unfortunately, we don't still have the recognition from the city. When we apply for the programs, we are not supported. I know we can do it ourselves, but sometimes you need to have not the money, but the conditions that stimulate entrepreneurship and these things. And I'm not sure that Croatia is really doing it. We are saying that, but from the practice, I can see as entrepreneurs in culture and tourism, it's not easy.
Time to explore Croatia's interior and see the viability of so-called continental tourism. And we're given a sample of rural tradition at Zagreb's train station. Please don't ask me to join in. Please.
Yes.
Oh, okay, maybe a photo.
Thank you very much.
So, join me after the break when we see how some Croatians are banishing the demons of the 1990s war in their own inimitable way. Bloody hell. And we visit Croatia's most popular national park, attracting tourists even in the depths of winter. I'm on a mission to test Croatia's desire to be seen as an all-year-round destination. Up until now, it's largely depended on its coastal jewels in the crown, and only in the summer. So what's it like to get around the interior of this country off-season? When it comes to improving transport in this country, imminent European Union membership promises a big windfall of cash, 14 billion euros over 7 years. So, getting around in this country should become a lot easier. Back in 2004, there was an attempt at modernisation when superfast tilting trains were introduced. Journey times between Croatia's key cities were dramatically reduced. But then, in 2009, a tilting train on this line came off the tracks with tragic and fatal results. So these slower ones are now back in vogue. Winter in Croatia has two faces. Along the Adriatic coast, there's mild but rainy weather, while the interior can be brutally cold. Good for skiing, I guess, but forbidding otherwise? Let's find out. Thank you. It may not look like it now, but this county of Karlovac is a prime candidate for rural tourism development, including farm stays. The trouble is, the legacy of Croatia's traumatic recent past still looms large. These are all exhibits in the War Museum south of Zagreb. But war here, sadly, is not yet just history. And that's because right across the country there are an estimated 74,000 landmines still to be cleared. There are 650 deminers working throughout Croatia. Since the end of the war, teams like this have painstakingly cleared hundreds of square kilometres. Not today because of the snow, but the team showed me how it's normally done.
Dajmo točno kad nađe metal. When I found metal, this sound. And then after that, go with the probe, okay?
Then you would use this?
Yes. There's this and slowly look what is here mine or not.
But this is still not an exact science.
Last year in January we have our deminer in Slavonia killed.
Killed?
Yes.
But over the last 15 years, how many do you think?
60.
60 people have lost their lives.
Deminers, 60 deminers.
60 miners have lost their lives trying to find the mines.
Yes.
Is he frightened when he's doing
It's a boy, как се osjećaš?
Okay, well.
Okay, it's a usual.
This is part of the job.
Yes, part of the job. Adrenaline started, but it's not problem. They are not scared.
To make the process more efficient, mined areas are initially swept with huge demining machines, each costing $1 million. The trouble is, at the moment, neither the machines nor the ground crews are operating at full steam.
So here, mines started here, in the center of this county, go toward the city of Karlovac.
At Control Base, they reckon $800 million more would be needed to finish a job that's now about 80% complete.
We have money, but not enough. In a couple of years, we can be finished with the money that we need. But,
why? What's happened?
What's a crisis in the world, crisis in Croatia, crisis in Europe. All full mine.
The plan is to remove all mines by 2019. Mladen claims mined areas are clearly marked, and most national parks and areas around tourism sites are safe. But most might not be enough to appease the anxious tourist. Everybody would be more relaxed if there were no mines here.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true, and we too.
Croatia is caught in a bit of a vicious circle here. To get more tourism, they need to clear more mines. To clear more mines, they need more funding. To get more funding, they need economic growth. To get economic growth, they need more tourism. Serbian forces bombed Gospić in 1991, causing significant damage. One report estimated that more than half of the region's buildings were affected. The government may be making bold policy announcements about wanting to widen the tourism portfolio to rural inland counties at all times of the year. But it falls upon tiny remote towns like this one, some with terrible histories and all with scant resources, to make those claims even vaguely realistic. Take the town of Gospic, for instance. In the summer, it's a lovely stop-off point between Zagreb and the Adriatic coast. In bleak midwinter, however, it's a different proposition entirely. Still, you can't blame them for trying. This is Gospic's Adrenaline Park, one of the initiatives to kickstart tourism in this area.
You can do a bunch of things. We have adrenaline high rope course, we have zip line, climbing wall, we have human football, archery, quads, giant swing, jeep safari, so many things.
Well, this is fun. It's freezing cold. I'm just balancing in the middle of the field and not much is happening. It's all about adrenaline here. Ah! Bloody hell. It's a good thing I've got a good heart condition. And if you want to expunge all memories of recent conflict and create a fresh start, this is apparently one way to do it.
Peace.
You find it a little bit ironic that this was the scene of some pretty brutal fighting during the Balkans War, and now you've got an adrenaline park with paintballing and quite physical, aggressive activities.
Maybe a little bit, but war is behind us. We need to go forward. Lower generations are not into war as much as the older. So when the older people come, they don't play paintball. But we young like to play.
Croatia has 8 national parks and 7 World Heritage Sites. Plitvice is the most well known. An 8-kilometre chain of 16 lakes and waterfalls surrounded by dense forest. This is the oldest of Croatia's 8 national parks, and arguably the starting point for the war when in March 1991 Serb rebels took over the park's headquarters. Today it is arguably Croatia's most scenic location and definitely its most popular, even in the freezing cold. And why? Because it's an all year round destination. Okay, so continental Croatia can be cold, bleak and forbidding out of season. But when you come across alpine scenery like this, you can forgive anything. As I approach the end of my journey, I can see that there need to be improvements in infrastructure, the very glue that keeps the tourism model together. I've got to say I'm impressed, particularly by the young people who are setting up their own tourism ventures here, often without state support. If I were in charge, I would give these young people free rein to follow their own instincts.